I'm Liz Flores, and this is a discussion about the physical and human geographical perspective on health in Norway. Norway, otherwise known as the Northern Way, has a diverse terrain composed of glaciers, fjords, high plateaus, mountains, valleys, plains, coastline, and tundra. Two-thirds of Norway is mountainous, while 8% are peatlands commonly used for agriculture, often as grassland for cattle, and supporting milk production. There are also 65,000 major lakes in Norway, and roughly 50,000 islands off the coastline. Forest and wooded land cover 12 million hectares, or 37% of the country's landscape. In addition to this, Norway boasts a spectacular view of the aurora borealis. Norway has a warm climate even though the country shares the same degrees of latitude as Alaska. Eastern Norway has cool summers and mild winters and receives less than 30 inches of precipitation each year. In contrast, western Norway has a marine climate, receiving less than 90 inches of precipitation a year, and the average temperature of the west coast ranges from 45 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Norway was originally colonized by Indo-European immigrants, otherwise known as the Sami, that came from southeastern Europe and South Asia in 3000 to 2500 BC. Most settlers chose to be near the coastline as they found the climate more tolerable. The first settlers were dependent on fishing and farming, and later they developed an interest in seafaring during the Viking Age. The Vikings were one of the first groups to establish governance through aristocracies and archbishoprics. One of the first cities to be settled, and consequently one of the biggest cities in Norway, and is also the capital, is Oslo. Oslo currently has a population of 0.7 million people. Norway gained its independence in 1905 from Sweden, and in more recent times, Norway has been known as one of the world's leading petroleum exports and hydroelectricity. Since World War II, Norwegians, mainly the Sami, have been migrating steadily from the northern to southern regions of Norway. Currently, 80% of Norwegians live in urban settlements. This migration is believed to be due to access to work and housing, along with individual values, desires, and family situations. Rural areas are dominated by industries that allow more work opportunities for men than women. As a result, women choose to move to urban areas in pursuit of work and education opportunities. In fact, 60% of women are in higher education. Norwegians have an affinity for history and civic engagement. They consider themselves an egalitarian society. The dominating religions in Norway are Christianity and Lutheran. However, there are small clusters of Muslims and Buddhists due to the various groups of immigrants. Some of the main values of Norwegian culture include tolerance, respect, and equality. Norwegians tend to have small families and enjoy being outside, hiking, and fishing. The main ethnicities of Norway are Sami and Nordic, which, as mentioned earlier, Sami was one of the first populations of immigrants to settle in Norway. And the languages commonly spoken in Norway are English and Norwegian, with various dialects like Sami. The most common diseases in Norway include ischemic heart disease, one of the more common causes of death, Alzheimer's disease, the second most common cause of death, cerebrovascular disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder or COPD, and lung cancer. The leading cause of death in Norway attributed to pollution, radiation, smoking, and asbestos exposure. On the right, you can see surveillance of particulate matter in Norway. Some professionals claim that Norway needs to use more innovative strategies when it comes to population health. The gold standard approach has often been focused around building, protecting, and repairing infrastructure and ensuring access to clean drinking water. Although these still remain important, experts claim that Norway should also consider using tactics that are geared towards health and climate adaptation. Information sharing, strengthening cooperation among community partners on climate adaptation, utilizing working groups, and encouraging safety and disaster preparedness. In addition, Norway will have to continue their work to reduce transport-related greenhouse gas emissions. Some of the political issues that have impacted public health policy in Norway include the inability to implement policies on climate and health adaptation due to a lack of funding, knowledge, and resources. Another factor to consider is the inability to meet during the current pandemic, and also the fact that safety initiatives have been reprioritized taking away from other green initiatives. An explanation is thought to be associated with Norway's political landscape. Norway's government is a constitutional monarchy dividing state power between parliament, the cabinet, and the Supreme Court. The monarch of this system is King Harald, who really has very limited political power in this type of government structure, as most of the legislative power resides with Parliament. Norway has an abundance of natural resources such as petroleum, hydropower, fish, forests, and minerals. In fact, Norway is the third largest exporter of natural gas and 15th largest exporter of crude oil. Norway's economy is made up of free market activity with some government intervention. Norway has a high employment rate, particularly for ages 15 to 64 years. Norway has a high productivity business sector, making jobs more competitive for higher wages and consequently higher taxes. Despite this, Norway has seen a lower labor force participation. The labor market is dominated by women, but to encourage labor force participation, Norway is working on a strategy about how to integrate low-skilled immigrants. In 2016, Norway spent 10.5% of GDP on healthcare expenditures. Norway has a universal healthcare system funded by general taxes and payroll contributions. Citizens are automatically enrolled and have access to a variety of services, including primary, ambulatory, mental health, etc. These services are managed by both local municipalities and national government entities. 10% of the population has private insurance, giving them quicker access to health services and a greater choice of providers. Recent reforms to Norway's healthcare system include the 2016 Age-Friendly Society, which includes a youth and adult mental health and well-being program, and an antibiotic resistance initiative. The National Health Data Program of 2018 made health data available to government agencies, researchers, managers, health professionals, and residents.